We met here at the church in the college and singles group. I was still in college, and she was single.
I'm a couple years older.
She's just a couple. But she was a second grade teacher at the time and had just moved back in the area, and so we met in the college and singles group here at the church and started off as friends.
Yeah.
And one thing led to another. And
I just figured it was the traditional, you go back to partying or, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
No.
That's what I thought was supposed to happen, and I graduated college and had no luck. So I came back and hitched myself a youngster
here. She took advantage of me being young and naive. And
we both were brought up in Christian homes, and honestly, that was the greatest gift that they've given us. I know how tough it is to be a parent now that we are one, and just the importance of raising your kids and training them up to know God. And I value that so much. And in this world where it's really hard, we're faced with so many different things, so many challenges and tough decisions. I credit our parents for loving God, and they were our parents. They weren't trying to be our best friends, but they loved us and they showed us who God is, and they taught us to pray, talk to God. He wants to hear our prayers, and he wants to be in relationship with us. And so I really value them teaching us to open our Bible and seek advice from there, and that's been a blessing to us. And now I look at our girls and I think, out of anything and everything that this world has to offer, it really doesn't have anything to offer. And ultimately, our huge desire is that they carry that on, and that they make God the Lord of their lives, and that they see that. I mean, if anything, what I want them to remember about us is our love for God, and that we live for Him, that every decision we make, everything we do is to glorify God. And I long for our girls to have that in their life, because you can't survive this world without them. Right. We love this church because they really care about us. I mean, everyone, we've talked about what it would be like to move away, and that's a really hard, I know that we have the body of Christ everywhere, and you'd find family, but here we have people that know us and love us and care about us and want to see us be successful. And they see me stressed out because my child's on the ground screaming and throwing a fit, and I don't know what to do, and they can come over and they want to help. And that's so hard. We have a lot of wonderful people. I'm telling you, it's hard.
That's great.
It just feels like every area of our life has been impacted by the church. From the moment, like I said, I met my wife at the church. I actually was introduced to the job that I now have through Kevin Dupree, who's in the church. He gave me an opportunity to come interview, and then it ended up working out. And when we got married, it was just the flood of hospitality and generosity that hit us when we were married. I mean, that was all from the church, and even when we moved into our house, it was people from the church helping us move and helping us, get into our home. And it's just every aspect of our life has just been one blessing after another. It's like we couldn't do enough to repay, for all of that. So it's just been like such a major blessing. And even our marriage counseling, Greg and Kim Pyle, really mentored us before we were married and helped us in that and getting prepared for that. So, like I said, every aspect of our life has been blessed by this church.
Well, I think a lot of what happens nowadays is that we feel this need to give our kids whatever they want and not setting up boundaries. And I can see now, having kids, why that's easier. Like, it's almost easier to just give in, because they will throw their fits and their tantrums, and and it's exhausting. I never realized how hard it is to be a parent. And I love my kids. And, you know, my job is to bring them up properly, you know, and to, I look at these little kids and it's exhausting, but I know that my job is to teach them and to train them, and I want them to make good choices and ultimately to fall in love with God and to want to obey God. And, you know, I just think that I remember being younger and like throwing a fit because my friends got to do X, Y, and Z, and why didn't I get to? And I tortured my parents, but they didn't give in because they loved me. They loved God, and they wanted to be obedient to Him. And I can see how I'm nervous about the future, Lord willing, if we get to watch our girls grow up. Mm-hmm. I'm nervous about it, but I also am at peace because I know that, you know, God is with us, and I know we have lots of support from the congregation, lots of wisdom to gain from, and I'm just so thankful that our parents from a young age instilled these values within us, and I'm, you know, we are trying to do that for our girls. You know, reading the Bible with them, having devotionals. You know, I write verses on the door of our kitchen, and we sit there at the dining table, eat breakfast, and Eva will sit there and read the scriptures to us, and we'll, you know, just in anything that we're doing, I just try to bring it back to God, bring it back to the Lord, because that's our ultimate goal. Because, do you have anything to add?
Well, I just think that's a huge part of our story is, you know, we had great teachers being our parents, you know, and those things that we learn from them we can now pass on to our children. And, you know, for those who are parents, just to hang in there. I think that's the message, is to not give in, to be disciplined, to, you know, challenge your children, to love them, to, you know, to hold up God's laws and His principles. And we had the type of parents who did that. We were so fortunate. And, you know, for those who never had that blessing, you know, maybe who didn't have the best parents or who had a broken family, you know, I think the beauty is that we have the church. And there's just so many great examples in that, you know, that even if you didn't have the greatest family, we have fathers and mothers and brothers and sisters in the church. And so, again, we were just extremely fortunate and blessed, and, you know, we don't take that for granted. You know, but for those, like I said, who didn't have the great, you know, parents and the upbringing that we did, the blessing is the church. That's what makes up for all of it. You know, it's the blessing of great parents, and seeking God at an early age saved us a lot of hardship in life. You know?
It's not to say that hard things won't happen, difficult times don't come, they do. But, you know, I just think regardless of what your life has been, from whatever point you start choosing to obey God, and I think just my favorite thing is that you can actually talk to God and He listens, and there's a relationship. You know, it's not, for me that just brings me the peace and gets me through my day-to-day stuff every day. You know, I can choose to respond to a situation the way my natural instincts want to, or I can, you know, just say a little prayer and know that, hey, God can get me through this. And
I mean, I think that's what you learn, like, from being, I think, a Christian, is that the verse that comes to mind is, in all things, conduct yourselves, in all circumstances, conduct yourselves in a manner that is worthy of the gospel. You know, and that's what I think Christianity teaches people, is the fear of God, to conduct yourself, to strive to conduct yourself. It doesn't mean that we always do in all circumstances, but we strive to. You know, we strive to please God in whatever the circumstance, through good times and through bad times. And that's what I think I've learned, is just to do that, to strive to please God. And it's like I said, it doesn't mean that, like Jesus said, in this world you will have trouble. You know, He didn't promise an easy life, even as a Christian, but just to know that we have His guidance, and that in the very end, you know, the hope of everlasting life. You know?
Well, we still have Satan there, and so there's still, you know, there's still deaths, there's still sins that are, people are constantly battling with. And one thing that I really appreciate about my parents is I saw that everything didn't just come easy to them. I saw them having to get down on their knees and pray. And, I saw them wake up every morning and have a quiet time. And, I saw them walk the walk. It wasn't just, okay, kids, go read your Bible. Okay, it was, I saw them live it. And I saw that just really trying through times come their way, and they were steadfast in their faith. And it doesn't mean that was all peachy and, and I think that's always been a testimony to me that, as much as I say things to my kids, I need to actually be living it myself. And because nothing in this world, people can look at someone and think, wow, they're just perfect, they've got it all together, but you have no idea what's really going on. That's what's so neat, is just to see, where God brings people. It's amazing. I love hearing people's stories.